drop in, do my intro. Oh, and we're live. I'm saying I'm going to drop in and do my intro. Oh, there we are. Oh, there we are. Woo! All right. Hello, you guys. Episode 7. Well, it's actually technically 72, but I like to give the actual story tables the episode numbers, and the panels are just the panels. So, all right, you guys. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the TUF Woman Table. As you guys come in, say hey. Let us know where you are tuning in from. If you're catching this in a group, on a watch party, say hey, and we will get to those comments as well. I am so excited, you guys. But yes, before I drop into my epic intro, make sure you guys comment, interact with us. Feel free to ask any questions. I will make sure that the comments get up and we answer any questions you have. If you want to join in on the conversation, I always highly, highly, highly encourage that people be a part of the conversations and be a part of the narrative. I think that's super important, and that we all deserve to have our seat at the table. So anyways, make sure you guys say hey, comment, like this. Make sure you share it if you feel called to, if you feel like you receive value from this. And go ahead and you guys, please drop over to the YouTube channel, show us some love and support, subscribe, turn on notifications.
Yeah.
So if we're not on Facebook, you can get on YouTube and watch this as well. So without further ado, I'm going to drop into my intro and I'm going to introduce my guest. And this is going to be an awesome fucking show. Like, I already feel it. So,
hi. I'm trying to figure out how to. There we go.
I was like, if
now
you
I can see our comments. Now I can see our comments
too. Oh, and Angela, before I get into it, Angela says, "Hi, ladies, excited for tonight's show." Angela, I like to spotlight her every time she talks. Angela has been on this show for all 72 episodes. Angela's watched all 72 episodes.
Okay. MVP.
Yeah, right. Like literally, she's my all-star.
Dedication.
So,
I love
all right,
it.
you guys, I see people coming in, so make sure you say hey. Tell us where you're coming from. Give us lots of likes, hearts. Show lots of love for this. I'm going to drop into my intro, and then I'm going to introduce my guest, and we're going to have an awesome show, you guys. So let's take a moment. All right. Hello, and welcome to the TUF Woman Table. Oh, my God. Episode 71, you guys. This is the table where I invite some super badass tough women like Nikki here to take a seat and join in on the conversation and share her amazing story. At TUF Woman, I believe that all women have the power within themselves to live life authentically, free from fear, confident in who they are, and empowered as fuck to go out and create a life that sets their soul on fire. Can I get a hell yeah? Hell yeah, you guys.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah in the comments. Okay?
Hell yeah.
I share this belief by exhibiting tough women who have walked through the fire, felt the fear, faced adversity, and kept pushing through it all. Women who now live the life they want as the woman they were created to be, and women who own their stories so other women can embrace and own theirs as well. Because as we all know, and I tell you guys, one day it's going to be inscribed somewhere. When you give yourself permission to own and share your story, you give someone else the same permission as well. And oh my gosh, look at Joy! Hey from Canada.
Hey Canada.
Oh my God, this makes me so happy. We got YouTube people coming on. Oh my gosh. All right, you guys. So this is going to be a really fun episode. I am really excited to have you on here, Nikki, because we actually connected a while back, and I've been able to watch a lot of what you do. So it's exciting to see someone else who is equally as vocal and who is equally as visible. You know, like you are all over the place with your lives and stuff. And I just love seeing other people whose biggest mission is to just uplift and empower other people. So I am not going to say any more than that, other than to let you introduce yourself and just tell everybody who you are, what do you do, and who do you serve?
So, hi, y'all. So my name is Nikki, and I am the queen of the bounce back. Queen of the Bounce Back. I am a personal development specialist. I am an NLP practitioner and a CBT practitioner. So that's neuro-linguistic programming. I'm actually a master practitioner, and CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy, and I am a practitioner of that as well, along with the rest of my alphabet soup. But I help promote growth by strengthening your emotional resilience in order to progress. So I serve people who are struggling, who feel stuck, who don't know what to do, don't know where to start, or don't know what really the issue may be. Stuck is the perfect word. I get that all the time. I just feel stuck.
Mm-hmm.
Well, alrighty, let's unstuck you. Like, let's get it. Let's do it. So, with we talked about it a little bit before about foundational reconstruction. So I very, very strongly believe that in order to become your best and highest self, you kind of shed, and then there's like this rebirth that happens. So I've coined that as foundational reconstruction, and that is basically taking apart the things that you have either consciously or subconsciously absorbed through your environment, your family, your taste in music, your taste in movies, the world around you. When you, so many of us not knowingly take in things that we may or may not want, and they become so much of the foundation that makes us up. So what I do is I kind of shine a spotlight on what may be some inner obstacles, where some limiting beliefs may be, where there may be a blockage or some kind of disconnect. So I help people, mostly women, but I love my male clients so much. But a lot of women who are really struggling with now what, or what next, or just they're here. Like, that's where I come in. Allow me. Come on down.
I know. I always say, like, for me, it's always the women that's like, I know there's more, but I don't know what that looks like yet, and I don't know how to get there. Like, give me a roadmap for the love of God. Like, I always say, it's like, and I was like, all right, we're going to.
And that's literally where I come in. It's funny you say the roadmap. In NLP, that's one of, the founding principles, the submodalities, is the map is not the territory. So you have this map, and yes, it is what it is. You're right. You'll see where, let's say, the United States, you'll see where Florida is, you'll see, where New York is, but you're not going to see the hills. You're not going to see the valleys. You're not going to see what the roads are. Are they gravelly? Are they, so the map is not the territory. So that's where, and we were talking about this before again, but perspective, that is my number one principle. If you take anything from me, please take the power of perspective. It is so super duper important. So couple all that.
I love that you're singing. I was about to say, for anybody who wants to know after this, there's a sing along on ABC. Oh, that's what that made me think of. I was like, oh my gosh. All right. So that's awesome. And like we talked a little before, I love meeting a fellow NLP practitioner. That's like I was telling you guys, I was telling Nikki that that's one of the degrees I'm still or certifications I'm still working on at the moment. And to really to be in NLP is just a fascinating thing, just to see how we can really work with our own brains. But that is a conversation that like if we really dove into, that'd be a heck of a conversation. But you guys, I really I want to focus on the story behind how you got there, because you are also a multiple sclerosis advocate. So I know that's a big piece of the story as well. So I am not even going to stop this story from happening, because like I can feel it coming. So if you will dive into the story of what it is that got you to where you're at now, and what's that story behind, what is it, my life? You can't write this shit.
Dun, 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 drum roll, please. Yes. When asked, and I will preface this with, as you said, I am an MS advocate, very much so, because I am an MS struggler. So you may see me twitch, you may see me tremor, you may hear me slur, I may fumble my words, and I'm just badass and wonderful. So just keep that in mind. It's funny that I study NLP, because it's focusing on that connection and reconnecting the disconnects. And here I have this chronic illness that is all about the misfiring and the disconnection of neurons and signals and all that good stuff in the central nervous system. But so Queen of the Bounce Back became rang true. It first started off kind of as a nickname, and I definitely come with an eventful story, very eventful. So as we were talking about, I have been struggling with multiple sclerosis for 14 years now. I was 17 years old. It was Valentine's Day. It was senior year of high school, and I was sitting in a movie theater, and all of a sudden I felt as if someone had lit my body on fire. And I turned and I mustered the words of like, we have to know something's wrong. I went to stand up. I collapsed and I didn't walk again for several months. So at 17 years old, I'm a month away from my 18th birthday. 4 months from graduation, I was accepted into all of my colleges on scholarship. I was a straight A student. I was senior cheer captain. I was, a VPA, a performing arts major, all around town kind of gal. And I was stopped, and out of nowhere, without warning, life was changed forever, which was incredibly scary. And there was so many things that went through my head. And again, it's been a long journey with just the MS. That's 14 years. But the reason that, if you really want to hear the story behind the story behind the story, this all really started, and I preach emotional resilience, because this all really started with, I am a survivor of domestic violence and child abuse. I was growing up as a young child, from the ages, it got bad around from like 10 to about 16, when I was finally actually removed by the state from my father's care. But for numerous amount of years, the greater beginning portion of my life was, mental abuse and physical abuse, and just so much of, you're in this survival mode state. And, you don't at that age quite know what's happening. You know if you deserve this. You don't know if, here you are and you're getting reprimanded by a parent, or so, it's fair what it looks like. And there's all these, what do I do? What did I do? And it just teaches you so many things. Well, as you get older, as I got older, and it became more frequent and more frequent. And it finally got so bad that a teacher of mine in my high school, my Spanish teacher actually, he had been trying to kind of get it out of me. A very interesting thing that most people actually have a little bit of a hard time grasping, but a lot of people who are being abused will go out of their way to make their abuser look good. And it's found often in where children are involved, because so many times they're told, this doesn't leave the house, or you tell no one, and you're so programmed to keep up the picture perfect life. And it's, a lot of learning yourself. And it's isolating and scary. And, I had done a live at the beginning of this pandemic. And I had just said, speaking about perspective, and I had just said, what's really bothering me right now is I keep thinking, if this were to happen when I was growing up as a child, this would have been my nightmare, because school was my escape. School was my saving grace. So that was like the first thing that I thought of when, schools were closed. And I'm like, how many people are locked down in quarantine with their abusers, with people who make them feel terrible, with, in a situation where they feel like an outcast or not accepted. So I think growing up in that, definitely taught me, that set the foundation to my emotional resilience, which I am convinced that that's, that coupled with perspective, that has brought me to be worthy of the title of Queen of the Bounce Back. So, if you look at my timeline and there's, domestic violence and this abuse, and, the state comes in and says, school looked at me and said, we legally cannot send you back. And my parents were divorced, so they called my mother. I was with my dad at the time. They called my mother. Look, it's a legal issue now. We cannot send her back. There's visible bruising. It's too frequent. That whole me still trying to be like, no, what do you mean? I just fell, or no, because I was more scared of my father, honestly, and like what he would think than like even grasping the situation of like, not you poor little girl, because pity is never friend to me. Like, no, thank you. Thank you, but no, thank you. But, it's one of those situations where, why do I do, what started this journey? Well, I decided that I was going to live by the quote, be who you needed when you were younger. So my very first introduction into my career in, social services, social work, was I was a youth development specialist, and I started in a high school, and that was incredible. And I worked there for many years, and then I went privately, and I worked with raising infants and doing infant sleep training. So I went to like early childhood development, and then I went to a charter school, which was pre-K to 8. And, you see the gamut of personal development levels in that. And it's so interesting. I started with that. I am going to be who I needed when I was younger. I am going to be there for the children. And then as I got further along in my career and going from the high school that I started in at 23, 24 years old, where, you have students who are anywhere from 12, 13 to like 18. So you're pretty close in age with the oldest of children. That was it was a completely different dynamic than when, almost 8 years later, I am working with parents whose children are in pre-K or even in 8th grade that are now closer to my age, their parents. And all of a sudden, Miss Nikki kept getting invited for dinners, and Miss Nikki kept getting phone calls for things outside of the children. And I found that, I was always like early childhood intervention, and that's the best way. And then it hit me, well, working with parents and working with adults, that's really the basis, because that we set the tone. Children are like sponges, they absorb. So that led me to, maybe get I can start this personal development journey and, mental health journey, and even sooner beginning, and that's with the parents before they're even a thought. Let's get people in the right state of mind with themselves and fall in love with yourselves. And it's all about self-love and self-development, and really realizing that, be the person you needed when you were younger. As I get older, I keep realizing the person who I needed when I was younger is the person I was yesterday, or a month ago, or a year ago. So I just keep trying to show up as the person that I would have wanted or would have needed, or, be the change you wish to see. So I say very often in, my lives and my videos, if you can't see it, be it. So be that change. I am borderline annoying with positivity sometimes. My friends will tell you, oh, like, leave me alone. Like, I love you, believe me. And I'm like, but I love you, so I will accost you with my love. Like, but I'm sorry. That's it. I'm like, but I love you so much, though. And I'm sorry. Sorry, not sorry, because I much rather annoy you to death with my love for you than sit back and wonder what I could have done differently, or where did I go wrong, or, we're in a world right now where, not so much now. I think right now, being, during this pandemic, we're shifting a little, but we're so used to being in a world where image and ego is at the forefront. And it's that kind of clawing through that and really realizing, dude, it's not about anyone but you. And not in a selfish way, in a self-preservation way, in a not only survival, but a thriving mode. Like, you don't want to just, I got to a point where it's like, I don't want to just survive my life. I want to thrive. And my timeline, as I said, has been like this. So here's how this goes. February 2005, I am removed from my father's care and sent midway through my junior year of high school to New Jersey. I'm born and raised in Brooklyn, and I'm a New Yorker through and through. I am now uprooted, sent to New Jersey, which is not where I wanted to be. Spoiler alert. And a whole new world. So that is February 2005. Well, February 2006 is when I walked into that movie theater and didn't walk out. So that very next year was when I went paralyzed from the waist down. Little did I know that that would be the beginning to the rest of my life of having an incurable illness. Little did I know that would be the first of four different times that I went paralyzed. Twice from the waist down, twice from the neck down. That was another level. Here I am thinking, how can it get worse? I can't walk. I'm from the waist down. And then my third time, hey, guess what? New level, new devil, y'all. Now it's from the neck down. And I'm like, get the and it's infuriating. And I am like, the universe's little practical joke. But you have to roll with the punches. And it's all about that emotional resilience. It's all about embracing things that you have no control over. And if for nothing else, the only thing that you have control over always is your reaction. So yes, are there times that it is easier to do that than others? Absolutely. Absolutely. But there are resources out there, and this is where personal responsibility comes in. Do you want to, it's easy to say, I want to live this life. I want to live this type of life. Okay. Are you willing to do the work to get there? That's where it becomes a little tricky. There's a course that I have that talks about, the differences in words, and simple and easy sound like the same word, but they are very different things. So just because something is simple doesn't mean it's easy. And just because something is easy doesn't mean it's simple. And I use the analogy a lot of when I was learning how to rewalk again. And you would think, you're talking to a 17-year-old, 19-year-old, 20-something-year-old, 30-something. Take a step. Seems simple, but it wasn't easy, So it's like, it's really perspective. We had mentioned in our little, our conversation beforehand that most people don't realize anxiousness and excitement are really one and the same. And it really depends upon how you're interpreting that. So are you feeling anxious in a nervous way, which then we become a little more negative and we put a little negative spin? Or do you want to say, I'm excited and this is good nerves and and that is, it all comes with programming, and programming on a deeper level. It's that shedding, like I was saying, that highlighting of, oh, I didn't even realize that. And then now, going forward, I work with people to become like that conduit of change for themselves, with tools and strategies and all that good stuff. But really, how to continuously keep up with life. And, for no better way to say it, but I teach people how to bounce back from the bullshit. And there is plenty of it. And I can promise you there will be a whole lot of it. The way you react to it makes all the difference. So, whether my emotional resilience was being built by the abusive childhood, overcoming, I'm out. a different prison, new level, new devil. Now I'm paralyzed. I have doctors, trained professionals telling me you may never walk again. Don't get your hopes up. And here I am, this sassy, I, one of my unique abilities is being able to go from Harvard to Hood with a quickness. And I grew up, born and raised in Brooklyn. Like I said, it's, I will never forget where I came from. I don't feel the need to be 17-year-old Nikki anymore and that feisty little thing. That's when Little Miss Sunshine became Little Miss Mouth, which I love. I love that title. Because hello, TUF Woman Table. I'm all about speaking your truth, y'all.
Yep.
That's it. Little Miss Mouth, gladly. Oh, thank you. Well, thank you then. Thanks.
Exactly.
So it's really about rolling with the punches, and it's all about bouncing back. It's not about, getting knocked down. It's about not staying knocked down. The bounce back. So it all really got started from childhood, and then 14 years of new normals with MS. And then really, I refer to it as the big three. These are the three most impactful moments that taught me the most powerful lessons about myself. And in learning those lessons, it gave me what I needed to grow and to progress on each time at a different level. So the first one was my father, and watching my hero. I was a daddy's girl, and I watching my hero, that image and that facade, that childhood lens of purity and innocence was shattered, and that was one level. MS and going paralyzed and the ins and outs and unpredictability of it all. New level, new devil. My ex. And people find this very interesting when I group my former relationship in with this life-altering lesson. But it was one of those heartbreaks that really introduced me to myself. And when I should have crumbled, now it wasn't just my ex, it was, where I was with my health, in my, in my career, in my abilities in life, in just all aspects. I was so miserable and I couldn't even see it. And that, overcoming that was, it made me realize, there's a quote from Perks of Being a Wallflower, that it goes, you accept the love you think you deserve. And I was like, light bulb, huh? Like it makes so much sense looking back. Of course I would have allowed that, because I was I didn't know who I was. I didn't do the work, and not because I didn't want to, or not because life had been real hard, because life was life for a very long time, and it has yet to stop. Spoiler alert, it doesn't until it does. So that's why emotional resilience is so important, because the only guarantee is that you are going to get knocked down again. It's going to happen. And if this pandemic doesn't highlight that it could happen in ways you've never imagined, you've never dreamed. So the best possible thing that I can preach, or that I believe, is arm yourself with as much emotional resilience, as much knowledge and personal development tools that you can handle any situation. And that's the good times and the bad. So that's being able to up level at work and make more money than you want to. That's being able to level up in a relationship, go from being a renter to a homeowner. It's that up level, that's your why. Do the work, and that emotional resilience will see you through the darkest times. So my big three, and in between there, we've discussed this, but for those who aren't familiar with my story, domestic violence, abuse, chronic illness, homelessness, heartbreak, just so many things that I began to refer to myself as I get it personified, because I get it. I truly, I've been in so many situations in so many different ways that it's like I can relate. And that's, that's been really the greatest blessing in my life is, for some reason, people, well, not for some reason, I'm pretty super duper, but people tend to feel that they can speak to me easily, and communication is not easy. It's not easy. You would think, it's simple. You just say how you feel, right? That's not easy. What you do and what I do and what people like us, when they come online and they show their vulnerability, it is not easy. It is so not easy to be vulnerable, but it is so necessary, because if you don't know yourself, you know nothing. And I promise you that it may not come out now, but it will hinder you along the way if you don't do that personal development work. And I'm just speaking from experience, because I don't know what I would have done if I didn't physically and make that conscious decision and that conscious choice of, I am going to not only survive my life, I am going to thrive in each level. And if I can help as many people as possible to avoid the pain that I have gone through along the way, please just just listen to my story, and you'll get little life hacks, because I have gone through so many lives. It's incredible. I will definitely show you how to turn your pain into power, though. That is something I have become very good at. Yeah, so that is my journey down the rabbit hole of life.
And Angela says, NLP has taught me so much. Your story is so inspirational. Thanks for sharing it. She said, a very close friend suffers from MS. I don't know anybody with MS, but like my ex-sister-in-law, she has cerebral palsy. Actually, my father-in-law has a not a form of multiple sclerosis, but a form of muscular dystrophy. So again, a form of a debilitating incurable disease that literally attacks his muscles. And he's got the less severe one. There's like one form of it that attacks the organs of the body. It's like an inflammatory response in the body. So I sit there and I'm like, it makes you that much more grateful. But I want to touch on a couple things actually, because there's one thing I want to ask you about, because it was something I always wonder, because it was right when me and you connected and I saw the beginning of when you were starting to do the lives. But one thing I wanted to touch on, because I talked to my sister yesterday, not yesterday, day before, yesterday, whom I haven't talked to in quite some time. And we had this really long 3-hour conversation, and we talked a lot about what it is that she actually wanted to do, because she was modeling in California right before the pandemic hit, and she had to go back home to work. And she was like, I'm actually really glad I was getting out of there. She said, because I was really just doing modeling for the money aspect of it. She said, it's a really good way to make good money for not doing a lot of work. And she said, but it was getting so very sketch out there. She said, and it's funny because you look at the current of what's going on right now, when she was talking about the people she was around, it very much matched the current of what they're talking about, what's going on now. She said, people were very deceptive. She said they tried to get you into a lot of shit there. She said, and it was just very strange. She said, but the thing she talked about, and you mentioned, was that she really wanted to work with the kids. And she's like, if I help the kids, and I said, listen, I said, that is great. And I think that's really important. We need to work with the kids. I said, but here's the deal. I said, if you really want to impact the children, get to their parents. And she said, well, what do you mean? I said, here's the deal. You can pour into these kids all day long. You can, and you're probably going to make some sort of a dent with them. I said, but if they're going home to the same shit situation and their parents aren't recognizing, I said, that programming is going to trump whatever you put into them. So it's literally like you are having to re-pour every single day. And I said, and it is that much more of an uphill battle that you're going to fight to help these kids. And I said, and I'm not saying it's what you're doing is impossible. It's not. I said, but
please still work with the kids. Definitely. Not saying that at all. But
find a way that you can bring the parents in. I said, because here's the deal. I said, when I think about what I do with women, I said, it's not just about in helping the woman of today. I help the woman of tomorrow, which is my daughter. or my nieces or
Right.
whatever. I said, but in order to help those people, in order to help those women of tomorrow, I said, I have to help the woman of today. In order to break the curse, to have broken the curses, the generational curses within my family, I had to start with myself first so that my daughter wouldn't take that stuff on. I said, so it's very important to acknowledge
Mm,
that if we want to impact anybody in this world, we need to first impact ourselves first. So I thought that was really important.
absolutely.
We talked about that. But the other thing that intrigued me, and it was something that I always wondered about when I first met you, and you were really starting to get in. I think it was when you were really starting to get into the lives a lot. You were really starting to be very
Hmm.
vocal about where you were in your journey. You talked about at one point, and if this is like you don't want to go into it, it's good.
No, no, I think I know where you're going.
Yeah, but you were
Absolutely,
like, at
please.
one point, I was just done and
Yeah.
I didn't want to be here anymore and I was going to give up and something just flipped and it's like, okay, I need to still be here. So that was my question to you is like, I really wanted to understand because I feel like you talk about people being stuck in life. I think there's a lot of people that go through that period where they're like, there's just so much pain in their life. And they're like, I can't do this anymore. And I have,
Hmm.
and I've, I resonate so much with your story because there's points where I've been homeless. I've slept on couches. I
Hmm.
like, just like the gamut. It's like, oh
Absolutely.
God, we talked a little bit before and it's like, I was
Yeah.
just like, here, let me have it life. And the universe is like, all right, come on. I got a shit stew just brewing for you. Don't worry.
Oh yeah.
But
They
yeah,
say when it rains, it pours. I'm like, okay, monsoon Sally. All right, so we just just backpedaling. That's it. Like, all right, cool.
but that was something I wanted to touch base on a moment is to understand like what is that point and how you can pull yourself out because I remember that was what caught my attention. I was like, oh shit, like there's I know that mental health is a huge thing we have going on here and we are not
Yeah,
vocal enough about it. But to see
yeah.
someone who was really like that vocal, I was just like, oh, okay, like that grabs my attention. So if you
Thank you. Well, I appreciate that.
yeah,
Yes. Now, I do want to make just a. It's an important distinction, to touch upon. My journey. Now, I do have an incurable illness. It is tied into my abilities. You're catching me on a very good day. If you go and see my lives, I have taped myself having a full blown episode where I am shaking and crying, and I can't hold the phone, and I'm just out of it. So, this is a really good day. So I went through years of doctors saying, I don't know what, I went misdiagnosed for the first 6 years. I um, went through periods of times where different doctors would tell me different things, and it became very overwhelming to like, who do you trust? What do you do? And again, I've been sick now my entire adult life. It's been 14 years. I have gotten to a point where my health started to deteriorate, not even so much on a grand scale of like a relapse or a period of time where I went paralyzed or a hospitalization stay, but the daily quality of life and the daily abilities and what I was able to do and what I wasn't able to do, and the frequency of my inability to watch that genuinely deteriorate and go, a year ago I was here, is just, it's an emotion that's very, very hard to describe. It is one of those, is this going to be my life forever? And like the answer is yes, to some, at its basic point. Like, I was actually at a point where I was so sick and for so long, and the prognosis was so bleak that I started to reach out to my doctors and my team of doctors, and I started to talk to them about physician assisted death or physician assisted suicide. So it is similar to suicide, and I am not an advocate ever. I am not a believer that that is the way to go, but I also understand. I also know what it's like to not even be able to wrap your mind around how you're going to survive. Forget another day, another hour, another minute. MS has, it's constant pain, literally 24, right on schedule. It's constant pain, 24/7. I literally cannot remember what not being in pain feels like. I could not even tell you. I wish. I can't wait one day. um, so I was at a point where my life wasn't terrible. That's not why I wanted, it wasn't an escape for me. It was a preservation for me. It was, I don't want to watch my life deteriorate anymore. I want to go out smiling. I want to go out where I can still seem like me. And I think that's where my fear lied. I was, so living with a chronic illness, especially an invisible illness, there's an incredible amount of guilt that comes with that. And, people normally say, why do you feel guilty? It's not your fault. And, you didn't ask for that. And you're 100% right. It's not my fault that I didn't ask for this. However, this is how it is. So all those times that I am crying in pain where you literally can't even go hold me if you wanted to, because I'm so raw that you can't blow on me because my nerve endings are so raw. And what multiple sclerosis literally is body it's attacking itself. And we have our nerves, and around our nerves is a protective layer called the myelin sheath. And in MS patients, our immune system is attacking that protective layer and eating away at it so that our nerves are raw and neurons can't connect, signals get interrupted, and there's a shit ton of pain involved, along with cognitive issues, memory loss, slurring. There are days I've lost my sight. I've had bouts of optic neuritis and couldn't see for 6 months out of my right eye. And that was a new normal. That was after 2 times of paralysis. So the only thing that's predictable about MS is the unpredictability. And I was at a point where I loved my career. I found the love of my life, and I'm so blessed. It took me 30 years to be blessed with him, but he is an angel. He is so supportive, and he's great. He's just wonderful. And I have my best friend who is absolutely amazing and such a shoulder for me. But I have to live with this. This disease doesn't take vacations. It doesn't take breaks. It doesn't stop for holidays or birthdays or pandemics or viruses. It also doesn't mean that I can't get the everyday cold or the, just life's, I'm sick. It doesn't block you from life happening. So this is something you need to deal with while life is, there is no, when I get better, So I really used that and channeled that, I think, into my career, because it's so important that you realize being alive is making decisions at all times. You decide to be here. So for me, I was so sick, and I didn't want to bring the pain that was associated with me into the lives of the people that I loved. I wanted to shield my partner from having to watch me, knowing how helpless he felt, knowing he couldn't do anything. I didn't want to, I couldn't fathom another phone call to my best friend of how you feeling. Not great, still the same, that you feel like you let people down. No one wants to hear you're not getting better. Everyone wants to hear, oh, I'm feeling good. And so it's that constant battle between being real and, putting on an act, and you get very good at faking being well. I will tell you that. I have, a lot of times with invisible illnesses, people go through, well, you don't look sick. Well, thank you. That doesn't mean I'm not. That doesn't mean you know what's going on the inside. And I think that's really important to take into everyday account, because mental illness is a disability that is invisible. You can't see what someone is going through in their mind, in their heart, in their soul, in their being, in behind the scenes. You may think growing up, when me talking about going through child abuse, my best friends at the time didn't know. I did everything I could to hide. So you really only know what people choose to allow you to see. And especially in today's world, it is very easily to manipulate what life really is. I happen to be a firm believer in, this is what it is. Just, this is the truth. This is the real deal. This is raw. Some days I can't hold a pen. Some days I literally have clients that I have stopped from making that very same decision that I was so close to making. And again, it's a different situation. It was on a controlled scale. It was something that, my doctors were involved in. It was something that was planned. There are stipulations to it. There are rules and laws, certain states that you can, so like there's a lot that goes into it. But I was at a point where I was like, this is it, for everyone's sake. And also I was just done. I am in pain, and I am, there's the, I'm still young, even though I just turned 32. I, lost the last 14 years of my life, I feel, in some respect. So there's that part of it. And then there's, well, I know that there's no cure. So I know that this is how it's going to be going forward. But I decided I wasn't actually, this was the one thing that I didn't have control over it. I thought I decided it. And I was sure I made that decision until I didn't. And until I woke up one day and I was like, I don't feel the way I did. Like, I was sure. And then I wasn't. And it was odd because I don't want to say no one wants to, but it's not, we're not programmed to want to die, to want to be here, or to want to not be here. So if you can avoid it, most people would. So it wasn't that I wanted to die. It was I wanted to preserve the life that I had before it became the life that I had. But the universe was like, nah, sorry, not this time. Sorry, kid, think again. And it was just that feeling of like, it doesn't feel right anymore. So I'm not going to go through with that. And in leveling up to that, it was like, okay, well, that, this life isn't for the faint of heart. So are you committed? Now, this is me talking to me. This is my own personal development. Me saying to myself, are you ready to prepare yourself for one hell of a ride? Because it's not going to be easy or simple. It's going to probably be even harder and continuously harder. And it was like, yeah, oh yeah, now I'm here for it. And like, forget here goes nothing, here goes everything. Because my other alternative is death. Well, I'm going to try to avoid that. And I'm not just going to survive my life, because I spent way too long of my life in survival mode, not because of anything that I did, but because of life and circumstance. So I'm taking that control. And that starts in my book with personal development. And that really knowing yourself and your own threshold and your capabilities and working it out just like you would a muscle, working on your emotional resilience, using tools and techniques, working with, coaches and people who specialize in, just how to do life, or just to make life a little easier in the process. So my story with that was, okay, if you're going to do this, you're going to do this for real. Go big or go home. So the post that you saw was me re-entering and me going, I'm not just going to, I was very blessed to have a career which I didn't need a lot of clients to sustain my living. I have the experience and the knowledge and all that good stuff. And, my clients will tell you I am worth it. um, Most of my clients become very dear friends just because I am all for that genuine human connection and just knowing you made a genuine difference. But, it's that keeping in mind every second you're here is like a conscious decision. So decide to make it great. Life is what you make it. And there is no better aha moment than when you really understand and grasp life is what you make it. Do you think your life sucks? Do you think your life's great? You're right, because life is what you make it. That also means, though, you have the ability, and you already have the ability within you to make changes in order to up level. And change is not the enemy. Embrace change, because if you don't change, nothing changes. And again, that's what leads to that stuckness. So whether you're at the beginning of your journey or if you're an expert in your field, you can always benefit from personal development. And that was a big deciding factor in not only am I going to stay here, but now I'm going to show up even more so. And since that day, I made that post March 4th, and I have gone live every single day at 8:30. Sometimes I'm a little late. Sometimes it's, not the norm. Schedules and routines are really hard with MS. Things will always take longer than you think, even when you allot for extra time. It's incredible. You have to just roll the punches. But again, it's all about meeting life with that, not why me, but try me. Like, okay, challenge accepted. I got this. I'll take this from here. And it's okay to ask for help. I encourage it. Nobody's perfect. You are a work in progress until the day you die. Nobody has it all figured out. Nobody. And that's a good thing, because growth is awesome. It may feel a little uncomfortable. And by little, I mean a shit ton, but it's so necessary and it's beautiful.
All right. Well, we are approaching on the last 7 minutes. That's crazy. Like always these episodes, they go by like that, man. It's just like the blink of an eye. And I love that you touch on it, and I want to piggyback a little bit. So the one thing that I always tell people is like, get comfortable with the change. Like that's the only constant in life, is that there is no constant in this world, like other than life is going to change. But I think also in talking about going back to that energy, I think what differentiates the excited from the anxious energy is, are you here or are you there? Right. Yeah. So when we talk about being anxious, it's because we are in anticipatory of a future that has not happened yet. So we are scared of the unknown.
We're out of the present, right?
Exactly. And then it's like, if you're depressed, it's like you're anticipatory of what has happened. So you're stuck in the past. So it's like when we look at what we're focusing on, are you here or are you there? Right? Because what I like to remind myself, especially, and remind everyone, is this is it. Like this moment that me and you are in right now, and everybody watching the show, this is life. This is the moment. You don't know that the next moment, like you said, you went into that movie theater thinking, oh my God, you walked into it and you did not walk back out. Like you would have never known. You would have never known. In a heartbeat, and your life changes. Like you guys, we literally went into a worldwide pandemic in what seemed like a blink of an eye. Like literally we went from hearing about COVID-19 to holy shit, we're in like a global lockdown now, like in an instant, right? And so you guys, before I ask you this last question, I want to say to you guys, I want you guys, when we talk about perspective, because I think when you feel that anxious energy, I want you to take that moment to step back and go, well, am I here or am I there? Because there does not exist. There is this wonderful little fictional dream world that you have created in your head. And here's the really fun part. And this is like why I love. So your future prediction is simply your mind making up thoughts based on past things that have happened.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. So you're further perpetrating your fears.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's not even an accurate representation of what the future may look like. It is simply based on a tape that is playing over in your head that your mind is like, well, let's see what else we can take out of that and turn it into something. So just remember, you guys always have the option to choose the reality that you're in. Like that took a long time for me to understand when people said, well, you can always choose your reality. It's like, what do you fucking mean? No, this is reality. Like, no. And then I got it one day. I'm like, oh, I can choose.
We have more control than we think.
So, so yes, this has been awesome. And I always like to end this with, I tell everybody where to connect you with. If you could, if there were 3 things you could give to someone if they asked you, what are 3 things, 3 pieces of advice or tips or tricks or hacks that you have that could help me with where I'm at right now to kind of continue moving me along so that I don't stay stuck in life? What would those 3 things be?
So I would say perspective is my number one. Arm yourself with that. The ability to see beyond your situation and in a different perspective, to see yourself in another person's shoes, to have that ability to, to look outside yourself and change the way things seem. Perspective is my number one. Embracing change is extremely important. I know we are wired to resist, and that is only because our bodies are literally wired to protect us. So when we feel fear, it's an uncomfortable feeling. So our body instinctively goes, wait, we don't want her to feel, him or her to feel this way because that's not a happy feeling. So let's fight. That's when we have that control to go, no, I'm just a little unnerved because it's new, but it's an exciting new. Now I don't need to be anxious. Now I can be excited. So it's that embracing of change, using perspective. And really, I hate to sound like a broken record, but the personal development, do the work. There's no easy road. And let me tell you, anything that's easy is usually not worth it. It's not easy. That is my message. It is going to be hard. You are going to need to be there and aware and conscious. It's going to feel uncomfortable, and a lot of times you're going to ugly cry and you're going to go deep in and you're going to be depressed and sad, and you re-meet yourself and you go through all these things, but just stick it out and know that you're worth it, because on the other side of fear is everything you have ever dreamed coming true. The only thing that can stop you is you. That's it.
All right.
Do it. Just do the work.
Amen. This is the part of the show where, since we're getting ready to come off here, this is part of the show where you tell everybody where they can connect with you and where is the best way to tune in if they want to know a little bit more about you. And you are tagged in this post, so I always like to remind everybody that you're tagged. And your everybody, her links are also in the descriptor. I love that you filled that out. That was a newer question. I'm like, man, if people want to give me links, this is like the best way to do it. So your links are in the descriptor, both on Facebook and YouTube. But I always encourage the guests to go back, obviously interact with anybody that comes onto the comments, but also to just drop your most relevant stuff in there. So when people come back to the show, which for anybody who catches us on the replay, hashtag replay so that we know and let us know where you're coming from. And Deborah said, hey, ladies. Hey, Deborah.
And
beautifully said, ladies. So, yeah, so just let everybody know where they can find you, and then we are going to end this episode.
All things Queen of the Bounce Back. So, Facebook /group /Queen of the Bounce Back, Insta Queen of the Bounce Back, all things Queen of the Bounce Back. But Facebook is my main source right now in really connecting. Yes, I'm on all platforms, but Facebook, I feel, has brought me the most authentic clientele and relationships and genuine connections. So my inbox is always open, y'all. So I you know, I end every live with the same thing. So if you don't mind, I would like to just end off with my little quip.
Go
In
ahead.
a world where you can choose to be anything, choose to be kind. And always keep fighting, because I know I will. So I thank you so much, Ashley. Thank you for the work you do. Thank you for this opportunity. I am forever grateful. You are amazing and a phenomenal woman. And thank you all for watching and having me. And this has been wonderful. So contact me on here, my personal page, Queen of the Bounce Back. We got this, y'all. You are not alone.
You guys, please go reach out to her. If anything I can actually push through this show, it's especially now, not even just the importance of perspective, but the importance of connection. You guys stay connected, be connected. Do not ever think that you are alone in this world. The one thing that I love about the show is the ability to connect. So I just want to take the time to remind you guys to check in and connect with people today. So you guys don't forget the importance of that. And as you guys always know, next Tuesday we'll be back. Thank you so much for this. This has been so awesome. And we will be back with another panel and just an answer to your question. Please feel free to bring your man on to do shows, because I had a massive influx of people who wanted to do the balancing of the masculine and the feminine. So you guys, I think we're going to run a panel series talking all about how to bring balance to the masculine feminine, which I think we are. I think the collective is ready to have this conversation finally. Like, I think we're ready. So for anybody out there is going, wait, we're going to talk about
I'm here for it.
Oh no, we're going to talk about balancing your masculine and feminine. Then we're going to teach you guys how to become balanced within the masculine and the feminine. So bringing the men and the women together. So it's going to be a fun conversation, you guys. Look forward to that in May. That's going to be coming in May. So I got to like plan that one out. But all right, so you guys, so we'll see you Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you guys so much for all of you guys showing up, and I will see y'all later. Bye.